I usually have it a lot
with the
bigger.
wolf.
I normally have the wolf as a good luck charm.
I like
But
him
today
being on
it's,
the table there having coffee.
today it's to shout out to Chris Madsen, who's just become granddad, and he is usually here with us.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
So
Congratulations, Chris.
if everybody's okay, just to wait a few moments to hear back from Laurel to see if it's working in AltSpace. This would be a lot of fun if we could say hello to AltSpace from the moon base. That would be absolutely wonderful. So just bear with me.
There's normally a little bit of a delay, Daniel. We did this with we did it with Bob Fine for World VR Day live into AltSpace.
Great.
There might be sort of 30 seconds, possibly a little bit more delay.
Oh, that long? Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll give it a go.
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Sure.
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. All right. So standing by.
It's streaming to YouTube.
That's really what people matter.
Yeah. Well, while we're waiting for that, I just wanted to say thank you to Steve and Alan and Julie for doing this, and so glad we got it all together. I'm going to leave it fully in your hands.
This is super exciting, guys.
If I don't hear it, can we do this? If I say start, Steve, you start. And if I get an alert from Laurel saying we're into AltSpace, I'll just briefly interrupt you. Is that okay? And we can say hello?
That's fine. Just remind me that hashtag again, man.
Okay, hashtag 2020 Summit and hashtag EdInVR Summit.
That's the one I like. EdInVR Summit. Hashtag EdInVR Summit. Hashtag EdInVR Summit.
Right.
Summit.
All right, here we go.
Okay. All good, man. Say when.
I gotta take a selfie somehow.
Okay.
Okay, selfie time. It's really hard to take a selfie when you can't see
the camera.
All right. Hold on.
Oh, here we go. Wait.
I think I took a picture today.
Come on.
Mike, any idea why Alan's arms are twisted up?
Oh, it's because I set them on the table. Just give me a sec.
The controllers.
Yes.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, I set them down for a second. I'm trying to take myself a selfie here. Really hard to take a selfie in VR when you can't see the screen.
Oh, you're trying to take it on your phone.
On your phone.
Okay, we're all waiting for you. You have an audience waiting for you.
Don't wait for me. I got hands. I'm good.
Okay, wait.
Oh, hold on.
See if we can do this. Okay. One moment.
Still figuring out what I can and cannot do.
Your channel.
Media viewer. This is neat.
Videos. That one's live now. That's not live. Oh, I see. That's strange, though.
You guys want to see something crazy?
Okay, here we go.
My hand.
Okay.
Guys, if you're in the audience, I'm going to mute you. If you haven't muted yourself, just so you know.
Alan, you got to come back down to the chair. You're floating up there.
Okay, that's better.
I'm working on it.
There we go. Hey. Now we're close. Keep wanting to reach for that coffee that's on the table.
I know. It's like very tempting.
Virtual coffee.
Okay.
Oh, I almost sat my
good.
I almost sat my
might
real
have a-
coffee off the table.
Just a moment.
I feel like I want to put my arm up.
Getting everybody a bit of time to acclimatize to moon atmosphere. Thanks to David McDermott from Engage for building this place. I just brought my son Ziggy up here and he could not believe it.
Cool, right? How old's your son, Daniel?
11.
Have you never met Ziggy?
No.
He's 11. He's the same age as Holly.
Yeah, he's building a Minecraft school in VR.
Of course he is. Wouldn't he be?
Just waiting on you, Daniel.
Yeah, I'm sorry for holding you up, guys, but it would be really cool if we could do this. And I think Laurel is just about to let us know if it's going to work. If it doesn't work now, we'll leave it and we'll move on.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Just a little bit longer. How's everybody enjoying the summit so far?
You doing exercises? Is that what you were doing?
Super awesome.
I was stretching my arms here.
Yeah.
Who
I
we
could
got
tell.
here? We've got
That's
Jonathan,
fantastic.
Nathan G, Max, Hans, Mike, Triana. Hi, Triana. Who else we got? Robert, Bill. We've got a good crowd here. Nice.
I've been,
We got another newcomer now.
I'm muting everybody as they come in, Daniel. So just so you know, they can't hear. I can't respond to you.
Okay.
Still
Hi,
just
guys.
waiting on you.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yeah.
We're live in the social room in Altspace VR. So everybody wave up behind you. There's a camera bot up behind you.
Oh.
Hey guys in Altspace, we're up here on the moon, waving down to you in Altspace. Hope you're enjoying the summit. We're going to go live now with Steve Bambury and Alan and Smithson. Alan and Julie Smithson. Hope you enjoyed the stream. See you later, guys. Over to you, Steve.
Thank you, Daniel. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us, whether you're live here inside Engage, whether you're inside Old Space, whether you're on YouTube, or whether you're watching this after the event's over. My name's Steve Bambury. I'm the host of the CPD and VR events here inside Engage and have been for a couple of years now. It's a huge honor for me to be part of this event. As anyone who's been following me on social knows, I've been traveling for the last few days, so unfortunately I've missed almost everything that's taken place. There was no way I was going to miss the entire thing. And huge props to Daniel. What he's put on this week has been absolutely phenomenal, really groundbreaking, and just really impressed, man, and hugely proud of what you've accomplished this week. It's my absolute pleasure to be joined here on the couch by the Smithsons, which makes me feel like I should be doing some sort of couch gag, Simpson style. But Alan and Julie Smithson, who I'm sure many, if not all of you have heard of. They're very well known within the XR community. I've been doing a lot of amazing stuff for a good number of years now, both together and separately in some regards as well. So I'm really delighted to have both of the Smithsons here with me today to chat a little bit about their careers, to talk about some of their past projects, some of their upcoming projects, and hopefully we'll have some time to do some Q&A with the audience as well, because we've got a good crowd here. So Alan, Julie, first of all, thank you so much both for giving up your time to be here with me today. And
Thank you.
if
Thanks for having
you want to just, yeah, you're most welcome. If you want to just take some time, if we start ladies first with Julie, just to introduce yourself to the audience and just to explain a little bit about your background and how you came to be sitting on this couch here today.
Sure, absolutely. So I've been involved in the XR industry for the past 5 years, along with Alan and our company Metaverse. And through the past couple of years, I've become involved in communities like the Virtual and Augmented Reality Association through the work that we were doing at Metaverse, and have taken a couple of lead roles in the education committee. So I'm actually the co-chair of the education committee of the Virtual and Augmented Reality Association.
Sorry to interrupt you, Julie. Just to confirm, for those that don't know, when you say here, where is here for you?
Oh, sorry, here for me. Well, here for me is in Toronto. Obviously. We're just outside of Toronto, Canada. But my role as co-chair is actually a global one. So I'm actually the co-chair of the Global Education Committee for the Virtual and Augmented Reality Association. And my participation within the Global Association, I also started the Student Committee. I also participate on the Training and 5G committees, and I'm the president of the Toronto chapter. So last night we had our meeting, and it was focused on learning using VR and AR. We did talk about educators in VR as well, accessing education worldwide, and that's what this conference has been providing. So I actually hold quite a few roles that have I've not only built my knowledge, but recognition. And I announced last night, I'm actually, I've been designated from Canadian Global Affairs as the investment champion for VR and AR for the entire country. So
Oh, wow.
I'm quite proud of that, that particular honor. Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
incredible.
I'll be
Yeah,
traveling
yeah.
in Europe. Thank you. Thank you. I'm really excited about that. And, it's spaces and a community like this one and all of the other ones around the world that coming together to teach online and understand how these technologies will impact education. And I'm happy to be at the forefront of trying to help foster those startups and help companies seek out investment and the impact into the world that we're living today. So thanks so much for having me. That's a little bit about my role, and then I'll pass it over to.
I mean, that's amazing. And you're saying you're going to be traveling to Europe. Hopefully, you'll get as far as Dubai, because we've still not actually met in the real world. Whereas I've met Alan a couple of times where he's been over to Dubai, and I've taken him to the virtual reality theme park here, and I went to an event with him just in December. But we'd never met, and I'd love to actually meet in the real world. So yeah, find a way. Come to Dubai. We'll go and we'll find some virtual reality fun.
Yeah,
now,
sounds wonderful. Sounds wonderful.
Alan, you obviously some of what you do in terms of metaverse, Julie's just touched upon. But what led you towards the virtual and augmented reality world?
Sure. So in 2010, we invented a giant see-through touchscreen DJ controller called Emulator, and we traveled all over the world, promoting this to DJs, and we're really building a hardware and software solution. And we got invited to Curiosity Camp, which is put on by Eric Schmidt from Google. And it was there I got to try the DK1, Oculus DK1 and it was Chris Milk who actually put it on me, and it was his experience. And I had this kind of aha moment where I thought, instead of saying, oh, this would be good for video games or whatever, I thought, man, this is the future of human communication. This is how we're going to meet virtually and like here we are 4 or 5 years later, and we're literally here. But I didn't know anything about this technology, and Julie and we decided, this is what we want to do. And at the same time that was all happening, our daughter started her own shoe company, and she was 10 years old. And so we realized kind of that we wanted to be on the cutting edge of technology and education, and what better way than to use this type of platform, VR and AR, to really scale education in ways we previously couldn't. Like, we're literally sitting on the moon having a conversation with people all around the world without, I'm sitting in my living room. So this is, one of those things that we had a vision for. We thought this is something that's going to change the world, and it turns out it is going to change the world. And so we're very early adopters. And I always like to start with our mission, and our mission is twofold. Our personal mission is to inspire and educate leaders to think and act in a socially, economically, and environmentally sustainable way. And then our company mission is to democratize education globally by 2040. And if you look out 20 years from now, these headsets won't be bulky. Look back 3 years ago. I spent all morning trying to make this work on the HTC Vive. I had to update my Steam. I had to update my, Microsoft, all these things. And then I still couldn't get it running. I checked on my Oculus Quest, which is on my head right now. It worked in 5 minutes. I literally just done. And so we've come leaps and bounds with the technology. And if you look out 10 more years, these will be just super lightweight glasses. It'll be a combination of AR, VR. It'll be your whole world. And you'll be able to pull up an avatar, and that avatar will be able to teach you about anything you want, real-time, personalized, contextualized learning, anytime, anywhere, about anything. And so, we believe that truly this technology can democratize education globally, and we want to be at the forefront of it.
Definitely. I'm just going to press pause for 1 second and just VR problems, guys. Anyone that was in my Live from Dubai chat show last month with Jeremy Dalton and Charlie Powell might remember that I had my cat jump onto my lap during the session and start meowing, and you could hear it through the headset. Well, tonight my cat's locked away, but instead my dog has decided to sit on the floor next to me and do a slow woof. So if you're hearing this kind of periodic woof, I do apologize. I just pretend it's the wolf. But short of taking the headset off and my avatar looking like it's melted,
Blame the wolf.
I can't really do much about it. He will hopefully be quiet shortly.
Steve, you just
But-
mentioned Jeremy Dalton, and I
Yes.
have to give a quick shout out to Jeremy. He's the head of XR for PwC in UK.
yeah, he is.
And
Yeah.
that's a lot of XR PwC UK. That's a lot of acronyms. Anyway, he just hosted a 3-day event for PwC and for all of his partners and clients.
Yeah.
3-day session on how VR can be used for business. And I think it's things like that as pioneers like Jeremy that really drive this thing forward. And I got to give a shout out to Jeremy. Quick story about Jeremy and I. We've had a joint research folder since 2015, I guess. Anytime we see something cool, we drop it into this research folder. So shout out to Jeremy.
Very, very cool guy. I highly recommend reading the PwC report on VR and
It's called Seeing is Believing.
yeah, seeing is believing.
It's called Seeing is Believing. And they, in the gist of the whole report, first of all, it's AR enabled. They used WebAR to bring it to life, which is cool. The gist of the whole thing is that XR, virtual augmented mixed reality, will create $1.5 trillion in value to the enterprise in the next 10 years.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, he was showing us during the session last month. He was talking through like examples of where he had like 400 headsets simultaneously running the same experience. He's saying, look, all of this is possible. Were you?
Was there
Amazing.
yeah, I went down and filmed it.
Wow.
It actually was really cool. So they had an experience. I'll just explain it because I think it's something that this is the precursor to how we bring this into schools. Basically, they had 400. It was about 300 headsets in one room simultaneously. And when you walked in the room, it was a huge physical ballroom. It wasn't like this where we're all different places. It was one ballroom with everybody in one place. And it was silent. Like, we're talking creepy silent. There's 300 people in a room and not a sound being made. They all had their headphones on. They were all in VR. And the one thing that they did, it was a 360 experience branching narrative where you had to choose whether you want to be CEO, CFO, or whatever during a crisis. So they went through the experience. And the really cool thing was, as they were doing the experience, it had a branching narrative. So you got to a point where you choose this or this, and it was timed out. So everybody was timed. And then they clicked, okay, I want to be the CFO, and they went down a different path. So each individual person had their own experience. But at the end, when you took off the VR headset, at the end of the experience, you took off the VR headset, and immediately on the screens in front of you, on the big screens in the physical world, there was the data around who selected which path. And I thought this was a really, really cool way to gather data and intel from a group of people and give them an experience like no other.
I did something similar at the school that I left last year using a platform called Warp VR, which allows you to sew 360s together and in the branching narratives, and you can actually assign points to the choices they make. It was not intended to be used in education, but there's definitely use cases for it. And actually, the reason it's in my head is because I was looking on the on SideQuest the other day, and it's popped up on SideQuest. So it's obviously launching now for the Quest as well, which is quite interesting. Talking about these different experiences, one of the things that I have taken to asking my guests, especially on the Live from Dubai chat show over the last few months, is what was the first VR experience that you actually had? So, Alan, you mentioned when it was, but what was the actual experience? What was the app that you tried, the very first one, the one that was your epiphany moment? We've lost your sound, Alan.
Yeah, we've lost your sound now.
Hold on. Hello, 1 2 1 2.
Yeah. We can hear you again. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. It was an experience by Chris Milk, and I don't remember what it was called, but it was a Beck concert. So the artist Beck was playing, but he was playing on a stage, like a round stage, and I was up in the crowd looking down at the stage, which was a very amazing experience, being in a tent in the middle of the woods in reality. But I put on the headset. Now I'm staring down at a stage, and then whatever happened, the next phase of it, I was standing on stage with Beck, like as if I'm standing with Julie.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap. Like, if I can transport people on stage with an artist, what else can we do with this?
Yeah.
And interesting, and I don't know if anybody knows Robert Scoble, but Robert and I were both there that night, and we tried VR together for the first time, and it was pretty special to me. That was my come to aha moment.
Robert was actually here in Dubai last week, and we did want to try and meet up, but unfortunately we couldn't make schedules aligned. He seems to be looping my sound, so I'm just going to have a quick peek. Can I ask if anyone's coming in a little bit late, if you do hit the mute from your menu? And Mike or Daniel, if you can just cover that for me to save me having to keep going back in and check. Julie, what about you? What was your first virtual reality experience?
I didn't have the same impact for me personally. I think I was put into a roller coaster experience, which was, I think it's the most awful one to first try.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't want to talk about that. And it's the first thing that I tell people: don't try the roller coaster one first. It's not the best experience. We all know why. So moving on from that, of course, being in the, having a unit we got to explore, and I think it was exploring the safaris from Samsung VR and being able to stand next to an elephant sitting there right in front of you and being immersed into a safari experience with wild animals that you could never get that close to before. And it was this exploration through Samsung VR that I picked up on some of the 360 videos and that sort of thing. So obviously I've evolved and tried a whole bunch of things since then. I can't say my first one was the best experience, but once I started to explore what was out there, I immediately see the potential of how this would roll into education and dangerous experiences, the impossible, the counterproductive, expensive, rare, falling along the acronym from it was Jeremy Dillonson, right, that did the DICE acronym for the reasons why we use VR and why it should be implemented into education. And that's something I presented the other day in my cloud talk was, a lot of people think that VR is going to replace teachers in education. It really isn't. And if we take a look at those dangerous, impossible, counterproductive, expensive, rare types of experiences and implement those into the lessons of today, even for a short time or a brief time, those will hit the most impact of the lessons of those experiencing virtual reality and applying them to their education and lessons.
Sure.
Right?
Now, both of you have talked about these first early experiences and them being 360 experiences. For a lot of schools, for a lot of educators right now, logistically, that is still the kind of level of VR that they have access to, whether it's through tablets or mobile headsets or platforms like Class VR. Do you still see, as we're in 2020 now, do you still see that there's a lot of valid use cases in terms of 360s, or do you feel that schools should be moving now towards room scale experiences and multi-user experiences? Where do you see us being on that journey, Julie?
I think it should be both. 360 experiences obviously only give you 3 degrees of freedom, but being able to be transported and experience something, even just by viewing it, is it's still an experience. And I think for maybe the K-12 version, utilizing that technology to engage with the students is fantastic. Moving into room scale and 6 degrees of freedom, it obviously engages the user even more. So I do believe that schools should be engaged in this type of technology and the experiences to be able to interact and really make it the experiential learning valid and the retention, build that retention in their lessons.
Yeah, I think one of the main not concerns but perhaps barriers that some educators have faced is the misconception that, oh, sorry, my dog really is going to town now. I apologize if you can hear my dog.
I can't hear it, Steve, don't worry.
Fantastic. But the problem is that because I'm not replying to him, he's getting louder. So you will hear him at some point. So I think for some, the misconception is that the 3DOF stuff, the 360s is very passive. And obviously there's been such a shift from passive consumption towards active creation in terms of digital learning in schools. I think in particular since the rise of the iPad through 2011, 2012. But I agree with you, Julie. I think that just the fact that somebody engaging with 360 media has control over their point of view instantly elevates that experience over watching a traditional 2D video. Alan, you've obviously been involved with this industry for a long, long time. So what would you say?
So, first of all, last night I tried a new 360 experience by Felix and Paul. It's a Canadian studio out of Montreal, and it's called. They've done the People's House, which is the White House with Barack Obama, and done Cirque du Soleil and all those things. But yesterday I watched one called Traveling While Black, and it's about how this book, this green book, was created to help Black people travel through America without being killed by police and other people. Like, fact that I had no idea about this, and it was a moving experience. I learned a lot. It was passive. It was 360, but I felt like I was there. I felt the empathy of the poor woman. Her son was shot by police, and I've tried hundreds of VR and AR experiences, and I've cried 4 times now. So the first one was Apollo 11, which was a full volumetric or CG experience, which you could you had some agency, but not much.
That's actually made by the same company that built Engage. Shout out to Mike
by
over
Engage,
there.
actually.
Mike's sitting over there.
Yeah. I actually cried during Apollo 11. When the sun comes over the moon and crests, I was crying. Thank God I was in a VR headset; they couldn't see me. But the second one was the Anne Frank house, which was again CG, and I could move around. I had agency, and actually, it's funny because I've been to Anne Frank house physically in Amsterdam, and it didn't really have any effect on me because you're just in a house and you're walking around. But when I did it in VR and it had the full story, it was mind blowing. And then again last night when I was in this 360 experience. So I think 360 is very valid. You feel like you're there anyway. The one thing that I think we need to figure out with 360 is some sort of a little bit of fake depth. So when you lean left and right, it kind of has a bit of depth, because I'm really, really sensitive to motion sickness in VR.
Yeah.
I'm like the guinea pig of the world here, because everything I try, I get sick or don't. I'm not sick on this one, which is great. But in that one, 360 video in 3D, because you can't lean, you have to remain really still. Otherwise, it makes you feel a little queasy. So if we could create some sort of slight parallax so you can at least have some freedom to lean in and out, I think 360 video, especially 3D 360 video, has a huge potential bring people in. Now, the other potential that I see beyond consumption is the technology is super cheap now. You can buy a 360 camera for like $200. Yeah. Every school in the world should have a 360 camera and a VR headset, and the kids should be making content they share and learning about these experiences. And that to me is like a gateway to creating full environments like this in CG.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Now, Alan, sticking with you and praying that because as feared, my dog is getting louder. What I might have to do in a moment, guys,
put the wolf down beside you, though. You gotta make the wolf
what I may do in a moment is teleport to the back of the room so I'm out of the way, jump out of VR, murder my dog, and then jump back in again. No, but I might have to let him out.
No. You gotta put your head on the table. You have to put your head on the table here.
I could just collapse. Alan, one of the things that you've been doing over the at least a year now is your XR for Business podcast, which, although it's branded for business, it's more. I would say that it's broader than that, and it isn't just sort of business. What there's definitely episodes there that I feel are valid for educators, but you've got another podcast in the offing as well now. Did you want to tell us a little bit about the podcast that you've been hosting, and about perhaps you can tell us a bit about the one that you've got coming up?
Sure. So thank you, Steve, for that. We actually started it less than a year ago. We started in June last year, and we've recorded about 125 episodes so far. And the idea was to inspire and educate the business leaders to invest in this technology. So people on the podcast are, people actually, Alvin Graylin Wang. Yeah. He was on the podcast, but he was also presenting last night. I got to see his presentation last night. Charlie Fink from Forbes. So it's everything from the people making the solutions and the content, the people using it. So I had the head of XR for Macy's, Mohammed Rajani on the show, and he talked about how Macy's is using VR and AR to increase sales. And then we had, all of there's 120, so there's tons on there. It's on every podcast, from Spotify to Google and Apple and all the rest of it. So if you want to learn more, xrforbusiness.io. I'm actually really, really excited because of the experience we had with that. My beautiful partner and wife Julie here is starting a new podcast, which I think is more relevant to this room here and to this community. So Julie, maybe you can announce what you started this week.
Sure. Yeah. So along with the timing and my very first podcast, I started the XR for Learning podcast. And Danielle and Laurel were my first guests to talk about this Educators in VR conference. The focus of my podcast will be about micro learning. So everybody that I'm going to be talking to will be a 15 to 20 minute conversation on what they're doing in XR and what kind of lessons they've learned and what they would like to teach others. So yeah, I'm really, really excited. I'm starting to line up the people to interview. Everybody from, I interviewed Michael from Labster the other day. I interviewed Rahel from VR First. I've got a few more scheduled. I literally just started like 2 weeks ago, but already on Spotify and on iTunes and Google Play. So please sign up and watch the content coming. But coming back to the focus, I think, it's about all these little lessons that the teachers and educators can take back into their classroom. And, even parents and students, coming back quickly to my students group with the VR ARA, we are building a parent-student resource to help parents and students understand about this technology and the impact that it will have on their education. We're very well aware that most educators are parents, so we're kind of going at that ground baseline level to be able to educate people. And I think this podcast will help people understand and learn about those applications and how people will learn from this technology.
That's absolutely fantastic. So Alan, you've already shared the link in terms of people accessing the business podcast, and I know basically if you follow Alan on any of the social media channels, you'll easily find links to various episodes, and from there, obviously, you can find the archives of the show, and there are, as he mentioned, a wealth of episodes there that are definitely worth taking a look at. Julie, you're saying is already on Spotify and iTunes, and I'm sure Julie will be quite happy to share the link to that after the event on the hashtag, which Daniel told me a whole bunch of times, and at this point I've totally forgotten. But it's tell me again, one Ed in VR 2020.
Ed in VR Summit.
Ed, see, I was close, man. Okay, hashtag Ed in VR Summit. So hopefully, Julie, we're getting feedback. Hopefully, Julie will be able to share that to us. Just mute there, Michael. Sorry. Hopefully, Julie will be able to share that on the hashtag afterwards. Also, by the way, guys, especially if you're new to Engage, if you're inside a headset, you can pull up your tablet from your left controller. You'll find the camera tool there, and you'll be able to take photos and selfies if you want. And please do kick them out on social media using the hashtags as well. So, Julie, sticking with you. What would you say are the main benefits to learning of XR, of augmented and virtual reality? In the years where you've been working with it now, what have you seen? If somebody sat you down and said, justify us spending money on this hardware for our school, what are the first things that come to mind in terms of the benefits?
Yeah, so just having real life experiences, I think that's the first thing. Being able to experience any type of potential career choice for a student, being able to be immersed into that experience itself before they invest their life into learning more about it, I think is, one of the greatest benefits. The retention of students and engagement through digital means is what the next generation is looking for. And I'm just going to take a quick moment to just debrief you quickly on a situation that Alan and I are dealing with here in Ontario, Canada. Our government and our teachers are in disagreements, and we're on rolling strikes. Tomorrow, 2 million students will be out of school because the teachers and the government are going head to head. And one of the main topics is online learning. Now, we're all in this virtual space together, but our teachers and our educators are actually not supporting online learning because they don't understand the potential of that. That's a very big problem. It's one where, coming back to the educators, they actually don't even see this yet. And it comes with a matter of explaining how this technology will engage the students, and that the students are already learning everything online already. They learn from TikTok, they learn from Snapchat, they're already searching things up on the web, and whether or not the teachers think so or not, but the students do want to be connected. They do want to expand beyond those classroom walls. And I think, trying to educate people who have the control of the education system right now is a very challenging place, because for us, we're even struggling getting across the finish line with online learning. We haven't even begun to talk about the headsets on the head yet. And people think we're, both Alan and I are like way out there. We're so futuristic. And this is happening in Canada, just outside in Toronto.
That's true, but
this is our world right now.
We're seeing the same thing going on the other side of the world with a friend of mine. He works in Hong Kong, and the schools there have been closed for a month now because of coronavirus, and they're having to do lessons via Google Hangouts and via Skypes and things like that. And I saw a tweet from Alvin just the other day, and he was saying, look what's going on with this conference, and look at the fact that schools in where he's based over, where this outbreak is particularly bad, and he's saying these two things should be like, this is the solution to this problem, but we're just not quite there in terms of being able to bring it together. Alan, you mentioned before, you were talking about Jeremy's report and about the the potential and this prospected more than $1 trillion industry, but what is it going to take for this to become the norm in education, for mass consumption in schools to occur?
A couple of things. Actually, there's a whole list of things. First of all, I love PC-based VR, but if it, I'm a technical guy and I spent 3 hours trying to get it working and I still couldn't. So the idea of these headsets, I'm going to pull it off really funky and spin my head around and backwards. The idea of these portable, untethered headsets is a really good start. Now, I don't know if you can see my hands. You can see my hands, but I've got controllers in my hands. But when we and just see my hands as they getting two people are going to be complicating this mess. So if you put on a headset and two controllers, now you've got 3 pieces of hardware to manage. That's tough for a school. It's great when you have one headset and two controllers. What happens when you have 30 headsets and 60 controllers and they have to be matched? It's stupid. You can't do that. So we have to have hand tracking. We have to have standalone headsets. We have to be able to have educators be able to make the content themselves. And the last part of this, in my opinion, is it needs to be scalable in a way that only the web can do. So we need to be able to build on the web and push it out to the web on phones, mobile devices. We need to be able to push AR, VR, all from the web out to the web. And so that truly will democratize this. And really comes down to the headsets are getting cheaper. Like I'm wearing a Quest right now. It's what, like $400?
Yeah.
We went from 5,000, 3 years ago with a computer and all the, I had to set up base stations in my house and all this stuff, to $399, and it just works. And it also has hand tracking. So maybe another month or so we can get rid of the hands, or the controllers rather. That's a good start. But really, how this takes off is content. These hardware pieces are useless without content. And so what we need to do is we need to empower creators and educators and Making content needs to be as easy as making a YouTube video for educators. And that's what it's going to take. And that's,
Can I
listen,
add one piece to that?
one second. I just wanted to say, everybody's thinking, oh, it's got to happen. It's got to happen. Look, if everybody in this room and everybody in this industry just takes a 10-year view that this is going to be commonplace in 10 years, then work towards that. Don't work towards trying to do everything right now. Towards a 10-year plan, it'll get there. And just every day, step by step, we'll get there. Sorry, go ahead.
Julie, you wanted to say something?
No, I just wanted to add a really, I feel it's a really important component to adoption. And I mentioned this the other day was, I really feel like students, teachers need to embrace the student interest and don't be afraid of making mistakes and have the students help with the technology in the classroom to empower a team of students to become the tech team and be able to help on a daily basis of powering those computers up, making sure that the headsets are all ready to go for the teacher. I think the teachers need to embrace that and become mentors and learn together with the students. And I think, educators walking into a classroom that still feel like it should be center powered on them will not do well with this. And opening up the classroom to engage the student into discovery together is a major adoption plan that will it'll happen naturally and will be very well received with the student so that they will further engage into that curriculum they need to learn.
What about schools that are concerned about the jump-in point in terms of, well, we don't want to invest now because the headsets there's gonna be another headset next year and that one will be smaller and cheaper and better and faster. You get that procrastination, that desire to just hold off and wait and see.
Yeah, we basically say you can't not invest in this. It's going to cost you more down the line. You need to engage somehow, and maybe it's just through augmented reality too. We jump right into the VR applications, but there's certainly a lot of augmented reality applications that can start to engage in three-dimensional learning. And I wrote an article a while back called it's time to learn in voxels instead of pixels. We live in a three-dimensional world. Why are we not learning through a three-dimensional, view? And this is where this technology will start to engage us in, instead of just learning off pieces of paper or 2D screens or even our computer screens. We engage in three dimensions. We can see each other and we're wrapped around each other, and augmented reality can place things right into your world. So if schools are struggling with the virtual reality portion of it, start with cardboards then, if you're gonna if you really have to. The technology is always going to change. Everybody who's in here knows how quickly the Quest came, and the Oculus Go came and went so quickly within a year. And it's constantly happen. We're going to start to see so many more hardware brands.
I actually think that the Go, when the Go launched, people that have been in my sessions before will know that I've talked about the fact that Oculus has no presence in the Middle East at all. The Quest, the Rift never launched here. The Go never launched here. The Quest has launched here and been massively marked up. And actually, just over a week ago, I saw an Oculus Go in the shops in Virgin Megastore in Dubai Mall for the very first time. But I think that the Go left a few schools feeling like they burnt their fingers because it was so cheap and they invested in this, and then you flash forwards a year and there's all this talk about developers are basically ditching it, and support seems to be dropping because everybody switched towards Quest.
Oculus ditched it.
Exactly. Go on, Alan. Sorry.
3 degrees of freedom, 3 DOF headsets. I think for somebody like a company like Walmart, where they just need literally a 360 video stuck on a stick, which is what they're doing with Striver. So the way Striver is using VR or 360 video is they got a 360 3 DOF headset with a camera, and Walmart can put the camera there, create a quick lesson, add some, some diagrams or whatever, and push that out to 17,000 employees around the world or 17,000 headsets instantly. And they don't need any more than that. This is a short 5 or 10 minute, experience. Get in, learn what you have to do, and get out. And that's a great use case for it. However, if you look at the difference between 3 degrees of freedom and 6 degrees, and I would assume most people know what that is, but if you don't know, 3 degrees means you can look left, right, up, and down. 6 degrees means you can actually move in those directions. So there is a big difference in that. And, the fact that you have agency to move around, to pick things up, to have a wolf on the table and pick it up and interact with it. Oh, not sure what just happened there.
You raised the podium.
the ability to do that was crazy. And the ability to move around a space is vital. So the investment in the headset, like, think about it. What is it for one school to invest $400? Like, come on. If you can't figure out that, buy one and start creating stuff. It really comes down to creating content and enabling. Oh, where'd Steve go? Steve's drinking coffee somewhere. It really is one of those things that the best time to invest in the future is right now. So
I definitely agree. Now, guys, we've got about 10 minutes left. I don't want to overrun because, I believe that's 10 minutes left. Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong. I did stick a clock up there. I don't want to overrun because I know obviously there's back-to-back events going on. But I am also aware this is a rare opportunity. We've got both the Smithsons here. There's probably some people in the audience that have got questions for our guests. I would like to open it up to the audience. Daniel, how long have we got?
15 minutes. Keep going. It's
15 minutes, fantastic. Okay,